In this episode of the IT Experts podcast, we talk with one of the Growth Hub clients, Stuart Faulkner, about how he found his genius in a bottle. Welcome to the IT Experts podcast, the only podcast to help MSPs scale to 1 million, and if already there, get to 5 and go faster. At the end of the day, isn't it all about building a business that works for you rather than you for it? I hope you enjoy the show. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to the IT Experts podcast. Today we've got another one of our success series, and we are bringing in to the podcast one of our amazing clients, Stuart Faulkner from ilicomm in the West Midlands. Welcome to the show, Stuart. How are you doing today?
Hi, Ian. Doing great. Today's going to be another great day.
Exactly. Fantastic. Well, thanks very much for your time today. And it's really important that we got you on here because you've had some amazing success and in a couple of the methodologies that we're using. And as we know, growing an MSP is all about scaling with confidence, building a business that works for you rather than you for it. And you've worked before kind of the Growth Hub appeared. You've been working with Stuart Warwick now for many, many years. And we just had to get you on the podcast to share with the audience and the other MSPs out there some of the amazing success you've had. It probably some of the personal development journey that you've been on, particularly in the last 6 months. And I'll talk about genie in a bottle, but what we mean is the genius model, which we're going to talk about in a moment, in a bottle that has really unleashed Stuart's mojo, brought the role, the vision, everything of the whole business and just made it super, super exciting to the amazing place that you're in today. So, Stuart, before we get cracking, can you please share with everybody who you are, what you do, who you help, give us some dimensions just around the business size of people and sort of things like that. Don't need to go into your headline numbers, not on this call, but yeah, over to you.
Okay, so we're a managed service provider, ilicomm Technology Solutions, based in Birmingham in the West Midlands, which you can probably tell by my accent, if not now, certainly as we go through the podcast, I'm sure. We're a relatively small company. I think we employ 23, 25 staff, something like that. We've got certain verticals in the business, so we've got a great customer base. Customer retention's fantastic. Staff retention's really, really high. Great business. The business was founded in 2014. Didn't really get running until 2015, but within that journey, certainly up till now, we've had some great success. It's been fantastic.
Great stuff. The joke of it all, you were in for some annual planning last week, weren't we? And in actual fact, it was quite funny because you've been working with Stuart for many years now. But I think at the time when you decided to work for Stuart, you were either going to work with me or Stuart, wasn't it? And there was a reason. And we never really got to the bottom of this of why you decided to. Probably his bloody velvet voice or something like that, I think is what I hear quite a lot of the time. But anyway, what I'm just interested just asking first was, you got a successful business. The thing was up, it was up and running. You are very commercially focused. You've got an amazing business partner who's great technically, Jason, which is fantastic. What made you decide that you needed a bit of a help? What made you reach out to Stuart Warwick? What was the thing that said, you know what, I need a bit of a hand with this? What was going on in your world then?
So winding back a little bit, the Stuart Ian story is we were using a marketing company at the time, and I asked if he could recommend us to any mentors, and he came up with 2 names. One was Ian and one was Stuart. The reason I went with Stuart is because he shares the same first name as me. It just sounded like, well, he can't be a bad guy, can he, if he's got the same name as me? He's got to be the best choice. So there you are. Apologies, Ian.
I can't believe that. Anyway.
So the reason reached out to Stuart was that, and it took me a long time it took me probably 12 or 18 months to realise this, that we'd hit a glass ceiling in the business, or predominantly I'd hit a glass ceiling. When we started the business, I made a commitment to myself, which was to surround myself in people who were better than I am in all the different elements of everything that I know. And I needed to be able to have an holistic view of the business and understand everything that goes on in every department, but not be an expert. I sort of lost focus of that during the course of building the business. And what happened was that I became the bottleneck in the business, and co-director Jason did also from a technical point of view. But as far as strategy and financial success of the business, I was the one sole person in the company that was stopping it from maturing, stopping it from developing. It took me a long time to realise that I needed help, because reaching out sometimes and asking for external help is, you've got to swallow your pride. It's actually quite a difficult thing to do. We'd built the business up and, we were a plus 1.5 million business at the time. We'd done, I think, remarkably well. We were 6 or 7 years into the journey and, on paper, it looked great. What happened was that I was getting incredibly frustrated. The workload was increasing. I was burning the midnight oil every night, sitting at the desk till 10 o'clock every evening. It then started creeping into weekends, Saturdays and Sundays, and really couldn't see the wood for the trees. So a couple of conversations with the marketing company we were using at the time, and he'd say he put you guys forward. And then I took the plunge, picked the phone up, and I gave Stuart Warwick a call, dropped him an email, and then we had a quick chat. And it just resonated with me. It resonated that he recognised all the pains that I was suffering. And actually, and that initial call made me realise that I wasn't on my own. Most people in businesses, particularly startups, they all go through this. They all have these pains because at some point, you get to a certain size where you've got to embrace other people, talents, and surround yourself in those other talents and those other people that can elevate you to a level where you're at. Now, I just called it, I used to say, we've hit a glass ceiling. I've hit a glass ceiling. So, and obviously I had the conversation with Stuart. I mean, it's probably actually, you say years, it's probably only about 2 years ago. Had the conversation with Stuart. I came along to the first intensive, which did a 16-week intensive, and I have to say, I walked away from it feeling like that all of a sudden I could now see some light at the end of the tunnel. I wasn't quite sure how long the tunnel was or how bright the light was, but at least I was able to see something that I couldn't before, and actually came away from that first event, incredibly motivated, and that's where the journey started.
Brilliant stuff. Well, you do realise that LinkedIn message that I actually sent you is still unread on my LinkedIn profile, but I'm not holding that against you. But look, the most important thing here is what got you here is not going to get you there. And if you're thinking that there's something that's not going right, how long do you want to wait to fix it? You took the plunge and you said it, took even 12, 18 months to make that decision. And a lot of people come towards us and sort of say, look, God, I wish I'd have done this years ago. Well, unfortunately, we weren't doing this years ago. So the format that we've got and, that intensive you talked about, now those intensives are going to be with, nearly 50 other business owners. And it's an incredible place to learn and not be that smallest person in the room. So, but what we're going to talk about today is actually some of the models that we use in the Growth Hub. And what's quite interesting while we were preparing for this was Stuart just mentioned that we talked about the vision, we talked about the hiring the right people, we talked about the genius model, which we're going to run through. And on their own, they're kind of a bit lackluster and a bit lacking of value and purpose and what happens to it. And this is why, business growth in MSPs is a whole model thing. You can't just go in there and just bang a load of sales in and expect the operations to deal with it. You can't go in and come up with a vision and expect a team that's creaking at the knees to help perform as the business kind of swells. You've got to deal with every kind of element of it, which is why, this year we're focusing on what the hub about the Growth Hub means, bringing in security experts, operational experts, leadership experts, financial experts, because, as Stuart, it's all very well and good. And I know that I'm not going to call you aggressive with your sales, but you're very purposeful, passionate, and love the whole sales thing. And you would, sell, and it's great. But you're also very aware now that when you look in the rearview mirror, there's not a trail of destruction of people who can't keep up with you anymore, because that's one of the things that we've helped you, operationally with. So the things we want to talk today is around this genius model. So the business had plateaued. You were looking for ways to you weren't enjoying the job and everything like that. The team were largely unhappy. And then Stuart, and I think I remember Stuart asking you to do the genius model, possibly 3 or 4 times before you did it. Talk to us about what the genius model is, just at a high level, Stuart, and the impact it had on you personally.
So just before that, the reason I engaged was that I'd made a conscious decision that I wanted out of the industry. Done it for a long
Okay.
time, had previous experience before, had enough. I wanted to go and do something else that I would enjoy because it was unenjoyable. I wasn't enjoying the job. What Stuart made me realise is, before the Genius model, is that actually you'll just go and do something else, apply the same rules that you apply now, and you will just equally dislike that as much as you dislike what you're doing now. So Stuart said to me at the off, you've got to get out of your own way, get out of the way yourself, because it's you that stop the progression, both personally and the business. So what happens, Stuart, he kept banging the drum, go and do the Genius model, go and have a look at this thing. I've got this thing called the Genius model, go and have a look it up. And you know what, I looked at it for 20 seconds and I'm not interested in this. What on earth can this possibly do for me? And then Stuart would say, have you looked at it? Yes, I've looked at it. What do you think? Oh, you know. But in fairness to him, he kept banging the drum and he kept saying, your problem is you. No? The problem with the business is you.
Okay.
We need to sort you out, because when we've sorted you out, everything else will fall into place. Do you know what? And on the outside listening to that, it's like, oh, here we go again. You know, I've heard it all before, sort of things. But anyway, so I eventually, after loads of nagging from Stuart, and he was holding me accountable, and we got to the stage where I was having a one-to-one with him weekly, and each weekly at the top of the agenda was, right, how did you get on with the Genius model? It got to the point where I'm going to do it, because actually I just want to stop this guy from beating this drum and getting on at me. And so I did it. And as I was doing it, I did it initially with using the exact model that Stuart presented to me. And I looked at it and I thought, you know what, there's some value in this. So what I then did, I changed the model slightly to suit me. So essentially what I did was, part of the Genius model is to look at what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses, but more so, what are you really, really good at? What are you not good at? What are you just okay at? It's just the day-to-day churn. So I split it in half, and I did one exercise that there's 3 pods in this thing, and then the top one, it was, what are you really, really good at? What do you think you excel at in your role? The middle one was those things of what are you okay at? You know, you're just okay at them. You don't excel. You're not bad at them. And then the other one at the bottom was, what are you really not good at all? You know, what parts of the job do you do that you just don't feel you offer any value to the business? So I did that, parked it for a couple of weeks, and then I came back to exactly the same model, but I changed it slightly so that it was, what do you love doing? What do you get excited about?
Yeah.
What are you okay with? You don't mind doing, but you wouldn't be precious if somebody else did it, but you're okay with. And what do you hate doing? And then overlaid the two. So all of a sudden, at the top of the list, I've got all the things that I really, really like, really love doing, really passionate about, overlaid against what I'm great at, what I feel I'm really, really good at in the business. And lo and behold, there was, 1 or 2 overlaps, particularly in the middle, but lo and behold, the things that I was really good at actually were the things I love doing.
Yeah. Funny,
How about that? The things that I was not good at, the things I didn't like doing. But you know what? It seems obvious, but until you put pen to paper and do it, and it's there in front of you, and it's staring in your face, all of a sudden then, that sort of creates a plan. So what Stuart said to me, he says, right, you have to make it your goal now to get rid of everything at the bottom of that list. Because if you're not good at it, and you don't enjoy it, then you've got to get rid of it. What was bizarre is that I ran the same model on some of the staff internally, and then realised that some of the things that was on the bottom of my list I didn't enjoy, that I wasn't good at, was at the top of theirs. I really like this.
Yeah.
I'm really good at it, but I don't do it. I don't do it because Stuart always does it. So actually straight away, there was a route taking these things out of my day-to-day work life that made me uncomfortable, made me unhappy in the role. So I'm now concentrating more on the things that I was good at, that I enjoyed. And actually, the things that you're good at and that you enjoy have the most benefit for the business.
Yeah.
And so that's what I did. It took me a long time to get there, but I did the exercise. What happened was then, moving on from the Genius model piece, was there was a lot of the things that I didn't enjoy, that I wasn't good at, that there was a gap in the business. So he identified there's actually some of these things, nobody does that. The reason I do them is because there is nobody else to do that. Then obviously that led to a different conversation with Stuart when we talked about then the resources in the business, what resources we needed to have in the business to accommodate some of these things. And that's how we got through the Genius model journey. And you know what? I use that model now with all the staff all the time because it's really, really interesting. And as I say, the most interesting thing was that there are people that are great and really enjoy things that you don't. And you should be aware of that so that you can get the most efficiency out of everybody in the organisation.
So how, once you've done this and you'd identify, and by the way, thanks very much for being so honest and open and vulnerable as well, just sharing personally what's been going on, because, you know, it's about business growth, but it's actually about personal growth at the moment. And then, you know, the business kind of moves forwards once you identify the things that you love doing, because as I said, this is about getting into flow. This is about doing things that you enjoy, because when you do things that you enjoy, you'll stay focused longer, you'll enjoy it, you'll have more time to do things. And also, you won't have to procrastinate. Anybody procrastinate on this podcast? Anybody push things back? Anybody hate doing stuff that you just don't like doing? Get people who love doing it. You know, it's absolutely, you know, normal to do that. And that's when the businesses gets into a lot of a stronger position, because this then enabled you to then move on to the second framework around hiring A players, because all of a sudden you found some gaps, didn't you?
Yes. So what happened, the gaps that were identified, it was operational. We need somebody in a strong operational leadership position within the business. It was obvious to me when I looked at it, and it was immediately obvious to Stuart Warwick. He said, and, you know, being a great coach, he knew the answer, but he teased the answer out of me to make sure that...
Funny that.
Yeah. You know, but isn't that what being a good coach is all about? So obviously Stuart teased that answer out of me, and it was obvious that what we needed to do to make this succeed was to bring somebody into the business that could take up the challenge of running the day-to-day operations. That then led to Stuart saying, look, we have another exercise which is called A players, and what you need to do is go and have a look at the A players. And this is about recruiting the best people, the best fit, because it's so easy. You know, I've fallen into this trap so many times where you think you need somebody to do a particular role in the business. You're a little bit woolly with the job description. You're a little bit woolly about what you want out of it. You go and interview somebody. You love the personality of the person you're interviewing, so you end up taking on somebody not even for the position that you've put out, because you really like the person and think you could work with them. And what you haven't done is fix the initial problem, which is plug this gap that you've identified further down the line. So doing the A player exercise actually then helped me recognise that, you know, we've got to be incredibly formal about the approach with taking on this person. So we had different discussions internally. I had lots of discussions with Stuart Warwick, and what we realised was that we needed to bring in somebody at a very senior level to own the operational challenges in the business.
So this isn't technical side of it, was it? Because what we get caught up with is, you know, you're quite visionary, you're very strategic, you know exactly where the business is going and how you want to drive it forwards from a sales and marketing and promotion point of view. You know, Jason was amazing, is amazing technically at the technical side of the business, but this was sitting in the middle. This was kind of like oiling the wheels that makes it happen, isn't it? So this isn't a technical role, is it? This is an operational role, isn't it?
It is. It is an operational role, yeah. And, you know, that encompasses things like HR. If you psychometrically tested myself and Jason, you know, we're worlds apart. Yeah. But neither of us, you know, I don't want to be managing HR and all those challenges that come with that, you know, the day-to-day operations, and more so process, governance, some of that structure. Me, my personality, you know, I can be a little bit flighty. I'm off chasing the next deal. Jason really? with his team, Jason with his team. It's technical, so you know, it's about the whistles, bells, what colour lights are flashing on a particular.
Yeah.
And there was this big gap in the middle. So, you know, I leveraged the skills and advice of Stuart Warwick quite heavily at the time to help me understand the profile of the person that we needed to bring in. Once we'd got that profile, and the A players exercise massively helped with that, but once we got that profile, it made recruiting that person far easier, because we could create a very, very detailed job description. this is the job description that we put in there. These will be your responsibilities. This is who the hierarchy. This is how the reporting structure in the business, so that there was no misconceptions on day one of that person starting what their role will be. They would walk into the role knowing exactly what was expected from them on day one. So then it meant going out. And so what we decided to then recruit the role of Chief Operations Officer to bring somebody to very senior level that would sit at the boardroom table and almost hold myself and Jason accountable.
Yeah.
You know, because one of the other challenges when it's a relatively small business and there's just two of you, you tend to sometimes avoid those formalities, those formal meetings. It's passing comments or let's have a chat down the pub about what we're doing next. But bringing somebody. So we brought in our COO, gentleman Darryl, and he came from an enterprise background. And what happened, he brought a set of unique skills. Sounds like a bit of a Liam Neeson movie, that does, doesn't it? Incredible set of skills. So he brought a set of skills that were foreign to us, but we embraced it. We knew we had to embrace it. And actually, since then, I've been able to get out of my own way. I've been concentrating on development of the business in other areas, and we've moved mountains. You know, we've put £1 million on the turnover. The bizarre thing is, Ian, it's easy. Once you do these things, it's easy. The biggest challenge is, you know, sticking your neck out and doing it.
Yeah, trusting the process.
Yeah, because you know what? There's 1,000 reasons that you've got for not doing something, and there's one reason for doing it.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, most of the MSPs, you know, I sit in a room with 40 odd MSPs at some of the intensives, and I can see a reflection of me from years ago, then going through those same pains, those same challenges. And since then, it's made me realise that actually, in order to grow a business that can get to where we want it to be, we've got to follow that journey. We're just in the process of bringing in somebody at a senior level that is at a board level responsible for sales and marketing. You know, we will be bringing somebody in responsible for the financial side of the business, and we will grow a leadership team that are responsible for different elements of the business and then have accountability. And all of a sudden now, we've got some great opportunities on the table, absolutely fantastic opportunities.
Well, it's because you're now all aligned. The team, you know, the business are much happier, more engaged. Is this right? 50 days holiday a year?
The what, sorry?
Is this right? 50 days holiday a year we've got down here?
Absolutely. So, yeah, part of this is that Jason and I used to take our normal, 25 days a year holiday plus bank holidays, whatever it is, 24, 25 days. But what would happen is we'd end up working most of it. You know, you'd be on holiday, you're on the phone, on the email, all the rest of it, and realised that actually, in order to enjoy what we did in the day job, we had to have this incredible work-life balance, because, you know, it's so easy to forget that we have families and we have a life outside of work. Yeah. And, you know, and if as a result of what you do in your day job negatively impacts that, then effectively what round robin, it'll come back and impact what you do in your day job. You know, the whole rug can be pulled from underneath you because of, you know, an impact that you have because of being too involved and having less of a work-life balance. So, yes, so we now have 50 days holiday plus bank holidays. We make the most of it. Jason's now off on a 3-week trip to Australia and Bali and different places. He's out with his family. He's meeting family over there. And bizarrely, the wheels keep turning in our absence. You know, when we're away, you know, this thing of, the business can't survive without me. But it couldn't, because we were doing all these things. We were so in that bottleneck. We were part of that bottleneck, and if we weren't here for a week, things would stop. The wheels of motion would stop. But now we've actually identified the different areas of the business and managing those separately. It continues. Don't get me wrong. You come back to there's things that will sit on your desk waiting for you to come back. But now we have more processes. One of the things that we do now, Darryl, the COO, he's driving ITIL through the business. So it's obviously not just from a service delivery point of view, but we're becoming ITIL aligned across the whole business. That has been transformational, because now all of a sudden everybody understands systems and process. Everybody understands in the event of A happening, we have to do B. Whereas what would happen historically is if A happened, somebody would run upstairs or pick the phone up to Stuart or Jason and say, this has happened, what do we need to do now? And, you know, and that was one of those things that was at the bottom of that genius model. I hate doing and I'm not good at. Now there's a process in place. So all of a sudden, you know, the progress has been, and development of the business has been expedited because we've just embraced some tried and tested, documented practices of work running the business that we've fought against for so many years, and now all of a sudden it's just.
And you've trusted the process. You've got now an engaged team. You've got an aligned senior leadership team. You're enjoying what you're doing. Everybody's having fun. The culture's in a really great place.
And the other thing on top of that is sales are up, profit is up. I've just had our management accounts done to the end of the quarter, and you know we're absolutely flying. And I put down a lot of that's the success of that down to people concentrating and putting their efforts into what they're good at. You know, so now I'm concentrating more on the development of the business. We will be bringing in somebody that will head up sales and marketing. Part of my role is now I'm on that M&A, mergers and acquisitions journey. And, you know, we're all playing in the areas that we're good at and that we excel at. And the business as a whole is benefiting from that.
That's been absolutely brilliant, Stuart. Thanks very much. Just a quick thing that's just popped into my mind. You just said Jason's on a 3-week holiday to Australia, which is incredible. Where's your favourite place to go on holiday?
Well, I'll tell you what, I went last year been all different places around the world. Last year, I went on a vendor event and they hosted their event in Croatia. So it's on my list to go back to because I really, great place, went to Dubrovnik, and did the whole piece there with the vendor, had an extra day there, went into the town, did the bars, one of my favourite bars, a place called Mount Weasel, absolutely fantastic bar. If ever you get the chance, go there. So that's on my list. So I'll be going back there again this year.
Brilliant stuff. Well, look, final thoughts today, Stuart. You know, what's your recommendations or suggestions to MSPs who are listening to the show who felt like you felt?
So, genius model. Certainly, look at yourself. Try and take a look at yourself from outside in rather than inside out. It'll make you appreciate your own values, what values you offer to your business, but also it'll help you identify where you need help, the areas that you need helping. Embrace the genius model. Go and speak to Ian. Go and speak to Stuart Warwick. They've got a great plan for the MSP growth of some great way of working. Really, really helped me. Go and take a look at that. And as I say, I think you'll be absolutely surprised what benefits can come of it.
Fantastic. Thank you, Stuart. You've stolen my call to action, which is great. I think everybody knows if they're feeling like this, then just please get hold of Stuart Warwick because he's apparently got a better first name than I have. But anyway, that's by the by. Stuart, once and again, thank you for your time in preparing and being, honest, open and vulnerable on this show. The reason that we've done it is because we know that there's so many MSPs out there who need some help and support in building a business that works for them rather than them for it. It's amazing watching your growth. It's putting hairs on my arm standing on end every time we talk to you about what's going on in your business, but the impact you're having with your employees and your clients and all of that stuff. And we look forward to, continuing this amazing relationship for many, many years to come, Stuart. It's absolutely fantastic. So thanks again. I hope you enjoyed the show and I'll look forward to catching up with you on the next one. Take care now.
Thanks, Ian.
So I hope you enjoyed the show. If you did, I'd love it if you could leave a rating and review on your favourite podcast platform. If you want to learn more about how to take your MSP to $1 million, or if you're already there, go faster, then come and join Stuart Warwick and myself in the Scale with Confidence Facebook group. The link is in the show notes. You go and enjoy the rest of your day, and I look forward to connecting with you soon.